Okay, so welcome to this part that talks about semantic interoperability, and the second part will be about ontology. I am Mustafa Jarrar from Birzeit University in Palestine. I am specialized in semantic technologies and interoperability and data integration. Well, what is semantic interoperability? What is semantics? Semantics means meaning, and interoperability means, operation, and then interoperation, which means operation among organizations, and the ability, which is the ability to make operations among or between or across organizations or ministries if we talk about the government. So semantic interoperability means how meaningful can we do interoperations between organizations. So, well, what does it mean then, operations between organizations is that, especially in the e-government domain, that we have to exchange, we need to exchange data between ministries or organizations. So suppose organization A wants to send the data message to organization B, and inside the data message there is data now. Now, what we need to achieve is that the meaning, the semantics of the data have to be clear to the receiver. Take an example. So suppose we want, organization A want to send a data message that includes data about a person and his companies and his associations, etc., to organization B. Well, then there is information, data about this person. And suppose there is something called, for example, if name. Birth date, salary, address, and list of companies that this guy owns. What does it mean, if name? Father name, first name, family name? We don't know, so we have to call the sender of this data to ask him. Yeah, what does it mean, salary also? Before tax, after tax? Oh, then the list of the companies. What does it mean, this company? Is it shareholding company? Is it non-shareholding company? Is it an NGO? So all of these things are not really understood by the receiver until there is an explanation somehow by the sender. So when we say semantic interoperability, a framework, we mean that a framework that enables the receiver to understand the meaning of the data that is being sent. Well, not exact, or not only the meaning, by the way. What about naming of variables? So when we say a data message, we mean through a web service, we mean there is like a WSDL, which is a specification of web services. So this data message, or this data in the WSDL, now the names, it includes names of variables, not only the meaning of the variables, but also the names of the variables. So, well, we have naming, we have meaning of the data, naming, of variables, meaning of the variables, and we have another thing we have to address, which is the structure of the data. When we send information about address, some people say, well, I want to organize the address information as first I put the building name, and then the street name, and then the postcode, and then the country. But maybe others will put another structure. So there are different types of structures that people have to agree. So there are challenges when we talk about semantic interoperability. We have to agree about these things, and any framework that talk about semantic interoperability have to provide a framework, a way that data messages are really understood. And in the second part of this talk, I will talk about ontologies, which is kind of a semantic reference where we describe the semantics. Another issue with the semantic interoperability, sometimes with the services themselves. the name of the service, itself, the code of the service itself. So all of the things that are related to the meaning of things, naming of things, structure of the data have to be agreed. This is the challenge of semantic interoperability in when we have organizations. And if you want to see the challenge even more, don't have in mind only two organizations. Try to have in mind 30, 50, 100, 500 organizations, and that these organizations, they don't need to call each other to understand the meaning of things. So any framework we should provide should enable us to understand things without asking the sender of the information. In e-government, we talk about ministries and local governments, for example, municipalities, banks that they interoperate in a country among each other. There are different types of semantic interoperability frameworks built in the world. Myself, I was involved in building semantic interoperability for Palestine called Zinnar. If you look it up, zinnar.pna.ps. And there are also, the European Commission has also built something like a vocabulary space so that people, when they exchange information, that they can use this type of standardized, let's call them, or de facto standards, vocabularies. So this is the main semantic interoperability issues, and this is what does it mean. And in the next part of this talk, we will talk about what is an ontology and how ontologies actually provide a framework for semantic interoperability. And by the way, let me mention last thing is semantic interoperability also includes coding, classifications of things. For example, country codes. So every country should have a code. We don't exchange the names of countries. We don't exchange names of cities. We exchange names of codes of cities. We don't exchange gender codes, male, female, etc. Whatever information, people, when they exchange, they put codes. So these type of codes have to be also agreed. We call them entities. They have to be agreed and standardized and shared among the organizations that are they want to interoperate.